Craig Breslow was thrown into the fire when he was hired as Red Sox chief baseball officer in 2023. And while some of his moves have worked out well, the overall results have not been there. And Joon Lee with an excellent article on Yahoo Sports detailing the Red Sox dysfunction in the front office. It's entitled Inside the Absolute Bleep Show that led to the Boston Red Sox trade of Rafael Devers. Joon writes in part this, quote, Breslow has grown increasingly insulated. Multiple sources within the organization describe a front office losing cohesion. Staffers who helped build 4 championship teams now feel shut out of the operation. The collaborative spirit that once defined Red Sox baseball operations has frayed. One of the clearest signals came during an internal Zoom meeting earlier this season. Toward the end, Carl Moshe, the Red Sox scouting supervisor and a team employee since 2017, thought the call had ended. It hadn't. As the meeting wrapped, his voice cut through a quiet moment. Thanks, Brez, you effing stiff, Moshe said, according to 2 team sources. The words landed like a grenade, and Breslow fired Moshe. Breslow appeared on WEEI this morning, and while he wouldn't discuss Moshe, he did discuss the appearance of being insulated.
If I or the front office has become increasingly insulated, that's absolutely not the direction that we are trying to head. We needed to make sure that we were operating in a way that was going to get us back to the top of the AL East and to the top of baseball. And that required some difficult choices and some change, but never a deliberate decision to insulate or push people away.
All right, I'm not sure as we deep dive this article how one quantifies a bleep show, but based on your reporting, how messed up is this organization right now?
I think that this is bigger than just this season because the Red Sox still have a chance of making the playoffs. But I think this speaks to the larger state of Fenway Sports Group and the Red Sox organization in particular, because when you look at John Henry's umbrella, Liverpool just won the Premier League. They just signed Florian Wirtz. They just got Arne Slot. The team's in a great spot. Michael Gordon has done an incredible job with that team. What's happening with the Red Sox, with Sam Kennedy, with Craig Breslow, with Alex Cora, is a state of organizational dysfunction. And I think that there's this, I heard last night after I reported this piece and it went out about an interview with the Red Sox were trying to recruit a new person for their baseball operations department. And during this interview process, the entire interview was conducted with an AI bot where you would record the answers to the questions and then the Red Sox would then evaluate them. And this wasn't just one round. It wasn't just 2 rounds. It was 5 rounds of interviews where this person did not talk to another person in the Red Sox organization. And this source told me that he'd also interviewed with the Dodgers, with the San Diego Padres. The Dodgers have kind of been the organization that the Red Sox have been trying to emulate for the last 5 years. Sustainability, a big market team that knows how to spend money at times, but also is able to develop young prospects, which they've done successfully over the course of the last decade. What he told me was that the gap between the feel, the people skills of Andrew Friedman, who, obviously relies a lot on numbers dating back to his time in Tampa Bay, and what he dealt with Craig Breslow was so far apart that it seemed like utterly delusional that the idea that this is what the Red Sox think the Dodgers are doing is just absolutely crazy. Like the gap between the 2 organizations and how they're trying to function is just miles and worlds apart.
While I'm shocked by this nugget, which was not in the original article, by the way, you learned of this after the article came out, but on the same plane, Phil, I'm not all that surprised because what is the Red Sox biggest problem the last couple of years? What has been the one thing that everybody on every show on this network has complained about? Nerds have taken over, that they no longer value when Jim Rice tries to talk to a hitter, he gets, a slap on the wrist from the drive line guys who are putting a bunch of numbers into an algorithm to figure it out. They don't talk to Rafael Devers about what they're going to do. There is no communication. There's no human being skills. It's just beep, 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 boop. Here's what we're going to put out on the field every day.
Trenni, for somebody to go through 5 rounds of interviews and to never speak to another actual human being is absolutely jaw-dropping. And based on what Joon's saying, this is not the standard across at least the best teams in baseball, even though that's what you hope to be. And it's not all that surprising to me either. It is jaw-dropping, but when it is run, the organization, the baseball operation, is run by head automaton Craig Breslow, it's not that surprising. It feels as though he has a real problem communicating with other human beings. This would be an example. The Rafael Devers situation would be an example. I would look at things, small things, like the way in which they've called up the best prospects in the organization, seemingly at the last minute, thrust them right into the fire. Like, if you are accustomed to dealing with other human beings and their emotions, you might want to handle those situations differently so that, for instance, Marcelo Meyer doesn't have to leave Worcester without his car keys. Or Roman Anthony doesn't have to get to Fenway Park without any of his equipment. Like, these are small windows into how Craig Breslow is operating. Even though John Henry is allowing it to happen, to me, this comes back to the general manager and his inability to deal with people.
I want to add, too, a former Red Sox player reached out to me who had played with Craig Breslow back in the day, just a couple hours ago. And he said that this is kind of par for the course of who he's been. Even when Breslow was with the Red Sox, he wasn't always a part of this, like, locker room camaraderie vibe, that this is kind of how he's always kind of been off to the side as the analytics guy. I mean, he was a very successful pitcher at the major league level. Yeah. You know, as a reliever, he had a long career in the big leagues. You know, I think he had 7 wins above replacement for his entire career. That's most than most people who play the Major League Baseball. But, you know, the Red Sox knew who this guy was. And the thing that I heard from this person who interviewed with the Red Sox, too, a couple years back, is that he'd interviewed with the Chaim Bloom era Red Sox, and that he'd interviewed with the Breslow era Red Sox. And that the interview process with the Breslow era Red Sox was way colder than what had happened with the Chaim Bloom era Red Sox. And so even though people talk about how Chaim and Breslow are cut from the same cloth, the reality of how the organization is going about dealing with people, Chaim was a pretty friendly, interpersonally good dude. Like, if you had a conversation with him, he felt like a person. You know, did he handle the politics of the organization well? Did he learn how to manage, you know, running a team in Boston well? He did not maximize his opportunity here. But it's gotten worse under Breslow. And that to me, when I heard that after this initial piece of reporting went out, was the thing that kind of blew me away, was that it has kind of gotten worse since what it was with Chaim.
Well, obviously, based on Carl Moshe and what happened there, there were people inside the organization who maybe felt that Craig Breslow wasn't doing his job. What was your reaction on that firing?
I think that the fact that that information got to me as a reporter shows the level of distrust that runs through the entire organization. Things only get to me as a reporter when things have really gotten untenable, because people know that it might get out in public. And I think that the fact that the politics of the organization are this out in public speaks to the level of dysfunction. Like, we see this in politics all the time. When things are leaking like crazy out of the White House, it means things are probably pretty bad right now. The fact that the Red Sox, we all know about this Zoom call, speaks to just how dysfunctional things are right now. And that is something that reflects on leadership from the top down.
I look at Rafael Devers, right? And you could say he was negatively impacting the culture or the clubhouse here while he was here. And I would acknowledge that. He did not handle everything appropriately. But what's going on in the highest levels of the organization, to me, dwarfs whatever negative impact Rafael Devers was having on that clubhouse, because there is clearly a butting of heads, a push-pull, whatever you want to call it, between the numbers crunchers and the dyed-in-the-wool fundamental baseball people. It's already, Trenni, impacting their ability to win on the field, in my opinion, and I don't see it going away anytime soon.
Well, and it's not as though that dysfunction ends within the front office. Joon also wrote about dissension between the coaching staff and that same front office. He writes, the coaching staff has grown frustrated with the state of player development, specifically how much emphasis is placed on swing mechanics and hitting data, often at the expense of fundamentals. One example came during Roman Anthony's debut, when he misplaced a ball in right field. The next day, Anthony was sent out to run outfield drills in front of the media. Multiple people in the organization noted that under previous regimes, that kind of instruction would have taken place behind closed doors. This time, it felt like a message from the coaching staff to the front office. One team source described the message as deliberate. This is what we still have to teach at the big league level. And this speaks to a larger issue, Joon, within this organization that wants to draft and develop players, but they don't seem to be developing players with anything other than numbers. And the fact that the coaching staff would go to these lengths, like a teenager doing the wrong thing in front of their parents, to be like, look at me, I need help. That, to me, is another mind-blowing nugget that you got out of everyone.
And the fact is that the Red Sox want Roman Anthony to be the development success that Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, and Rafael Devers was for the organization. They want him to be the next face of the franchise. And already, on day 2 of his time at the Major League level, they're trotting him out as a political puppet, to throw passive-aggressive shade, to the front office. It speaks to the larger kind of culture with the organization right now. And I think it illustrates this power struggle happening between Alex Cora and Craig Breslow in this current moment. Because, Alex Cora was the one who pushed the team to go out and get Alex Bregman because he wanted to win now. His entire time, the last 2 years, if you watch the end of the Red Sox documentary on Netflix, Alex Cora says, I'm looking forward to next year, basically, because we're going to have an opportunity to compete for something more than a wild card. And that was the reason he pushed to get Alex Bregman here. Who
wins in the power struggle of Alex Cora versus Craig Breslow?
I think John Henry is preferential to the numbers crunchers. So I think he's going to lean towards Craig Breslow in this instance. And shame on the coaching staff for using Roman Anthony as a chip in that way. And again, it just speaks to the bleep show that is Fenway Park right now. Because if you play it out, I think it's already impacting their ability to win, Trenni. But play it out years from now, when Roman Anthony's negotiating, Marcelo Meyer's negotiating, are they going to look at situations like this one? Is Roman Anthony going to remember that second night at Fenway Park and be like, I remember how they treated me then. I remember how they actually kept me in Worcester longer than I should have been. Should I be doing them any favors when it comes to negotiating a deal and trying to stay here long term? I just wonder if that kind of thing permeates the clubhouse and actually infects the young core that they so desperately want to protect from Rafael Devers.
No, I think Phil is spot on because you look at the way that the Red Sox have treated their recent young star prospects who have become superstars and cornerstones of championship teams. It is a cultural organization-setting thing to constantly be trading them out, to be disrespecting them ahead of free agency, and to be, mismanaging their ego. Like, it is not a good thing for this organization that the top-end superstars, the guys that you either have to pay a lot of money to in free agency, or you develop in-house and you're able to get for, quote-unquote, an efficient amount of money over the course of their arbitration years, are constantly being slighted. Like, that is not a good thing for players to be constantly thinking about when they're coming to this organization.